there, folks. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you can make it. And I hope you're enjoying Celebrate Sausage Season 5 so far. I know some of you diehard sausage makers are already out there making some of the recipes that we've already posted. Drop me a comment. Let me know which recipes you've already made and which ones you plan on making. Today, we're going to be making an experimental sausage, the smoked whiskey bacon sausage. Sounds good, right? I like bacon, I like whiskey, and I like a good smoked sausage. So what happens when you throw all three of those ingredients together? We'll find out soon. Let's get started.
We're going to be using a 32-35 millimeter hog casing. We got these from the sausage maker. They've been rinsed, they've been flushed, and they're in a cup of water that has about a teaspoon of baking soda in it. That baking soda is going to make it nice and slippery, and this is going to go into the fridge for an overnight soak. It's now the next day, and we're going to be making this up as we go. We've got some pork back fat already cut up into small pieces. I am going to be using some lean beef right there, and then we have some pork shoulder. The beauty of sausage making is that you can almost use whatever protein you want. And so if you want to make this an all-pork sausage, a venison pork sausage, an all-beef sausage, it really doesn't matter. I will say, though, that the different combination of proteins will give you different textures and flavors, so just keep that in mind when you're choosing how to make a sausage. Everything's already been cut up, and it is a little warm, so we are going to put this into the freezer, but I think for the grind, we're going to be doing a couple different types of grind. I want to do the fat and the pork on a 6 millimeter, and then we're going to do the beef on a 10 millimeter, just to kind of give us a little bit of a different texture with this sausage. Either way, you can do all 6 millimeter, you can do all 10 millimeter. Like I said, it doesn't matter. Into the freezer it goes while we look at our spices. The thing that I think we need to take into consideration for this sausage is the flavor of the whiskey, because the whiskey is going to bring its own unique element. It's going to have caramel, vanilla, oaky, biscuit kind of flavors. And so we need to play on those flavors. For the onions, we're going to caramelize them, draw that sweetness out. I think that'll work really good with that whiskey that we've got. We're going to be using salt, and Insecure number 1, we've got black pepper, and then I've got some smoked paprika. We've got dark brown sugar, and I think that, extra molasses flavor is going to really play well in this sausage. Garlic powder, mustard seeds, and then for a touch of spice, we're going to add just a little cayenne pepper. The recipe link in the description box below will have all the exact measurements. We have just a tiny bit of Worcestershire sauce. I think that's going to bring some beautiful umami. We're going to add a little honey, just a touch. I just want that flavor. I don't want it to be a sweet sausage. And then we have water. And there we go. All right, let's get our onions caramelized, a little olive oil, medium-high heat, and our onions in. Don't forget to salt them so we can sweat those onions. And then this is just a slow, steady process. Stir them often. And once your onions have that beautiful caramel color, add your whiskey. We need to cook out the alcohol flavor from that whiskey. Otherwise, our sausage will be way too boozy, and I don't think it'll work so good. So give it a stir, tilt the skillet, catch it on fire, and cook it till that fire burns out. That's it. We're just cooking out that alcohol. If you're going to be doing it this way, just make sure you're in a well-ventilated room, and please be careful. All right, so this is looking great at this point. And like I said, all I'm doing is cooking it until the fire goes out. The smell coming from this caramelized onion whiskey blend is incredible, and I think it's going to play really well inside this sausage. So a little bit more, and looks like we're good to go. So to that onion whiskey blend, I think I want to go ahead and add a few ingredients. Let's start by adding the cayenne pepper. We're going to basically create almost like a spicy onion marmalade of sorts. We're going to add the Worcestershire sauce, come back in with the water, and then we're going to finish it up with the honey. This does need to cool, so before we do anything with that sauce, we want to put it in the fridge, make sure it cools down. You do not want to add that if it's hot to your mixture. Stir everything together, make sure it's well incorporated, and then, of course, give it a taste. Oh, wow. I gotta tell you, for writing this recipe off the cuff, I am loving where we're going. That is delicious. A little spicy, a little sweet. Ooh, I can't wait to see what happens next. Okay, this is the bacon, and notice how we cooked it. The bacon was cooked just long enough to render enough fat to make it crispy. At this point, we're just going to chop it all up. And the way you chop up your bacon is up to you. It could be just a beautiful rough chop, uneven pieces, not a problem with that. Let's take a look at our meat. For the temperature of the meat, I try to target anything between 32 and 34 Fahrenheit or 0 to 1 Celsius. And remember, we're going to be grinding the beef on a 10 millimeter plate and then the pork and the fat on a 6 millimeter plate. Very clean looking grind. Absolutely perfect. Notice we have strands and pebbles, and this is exactly what it should look like. Let's get this into the mixer. So right at the last second, I thought to myself, maybe we should add a binder. So I'm going to be adding potato starch at a rate of 2%. If you have a favorite binder and you want to add, non-fat dry milk, not a problem. Whichever one you choose to use is fine. We've got our meat in the mixer. And no matter how you choose to mix your meat, just make sure it's chilled at least 34 Fahrenheit or 1 Celsius. Okay, so what we're looking for is a sticky farce. We're going to add our spices, our dry spices. Get that in there. Next up, we're going to add our binder. And you can mix the binder and the spices together, add all that at the same time. And then finally, we're going to add our cooled onion mixture, which smells amazing. I feel like I want to put it on toast or something. And I love how it thickened up. So it's not runny. It's got this almost like soft jelly consistency. Very interesting. Our meat farce looks really sticky. A lot of protein has been extracted. Let's add our bacon. And if you're thinking to yourself, I cannot wait to make this sausage, drop this video a thumbs up. It smells amazing. Okay, look, we're going to see if this thing is sticky enough to move on to the next step. I'm loving the fat distribution. The bacon and onion distribution looks great as well. It feels sticky. Let's grab a little handful and see if it sticks to the underside of our hand. All right. Very sticky. Okay, we need to now get this into its sausage casing. I'm going to be using a sausage stuffer to get this into the casing, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. This is a very small, very economical 5-pound sausage stuffer. We're using a 3/4 inch horn. If you are going to be using a KitchenAid, you might want to check out my video on how to make sausages like a pro using the KitchenAid, because it can be pretty tricky. We're going to slam the meat into the hopper, punching it down, making sure we don't have any air pockets, and loading it up on the base. Now remember, we are using that 35 millimeter hog casing. It's a little bit thicker than the normal casings we use, but check this out. An overnight soak in the fridge. Beautiful, translucent, very thin-walled casing. That's a great sign that we're going to get a nice snappy bite after it's all said and done. Now there's a lot more that goes into, the snappiness of a sausage, but that's a great start. Let's get this thing stuffed. Perfect. I wasn't sure if that casing was going to be long enough, but it actually ended up being just the right size. All right, so we've got a beautiful plump looking casing. If I give it a little squeeze, it does leave an indentation. Very nice. That lets me know that I can twist this without having too many problems. If it's too tight and you go to twist it, you might have casing blowout. In that case, you might want to leave it as a coil. Nice little pinch with the right hand. We're going to twist it 3 times forward. There we go. And there's lots of different ways to link up your sausage. There's no one right answer. I tend to prefer this method because I feel like my links are more manageable and tighter, and we are twisting in alternating directions. 3 times forward, 3 times back, so on and so forth until you're done. We're going to place this onto a wire rack, and with a sausage pricker, I'm going to give the sausage the good old-fashioned prick. I do want to look for any air pockets, but the overall point here is to just prick your sausage all around. This is going to help the casing adhere to the meat, and it's also going to keep any liquids that render during the cooking process from pulling inside that casing, which could lead to a tough and chewy bite. You don't want that. This is going to go into the fridge over the night where those twists can dry up and all those ingredients can get a chance to know each other. The cure can do its job. So into the fridge it goes. Tomorrow we'll give it a cook. The smoker that we're going to be using to smoke this sausage is a Pro Series convection smoker from Smokin' It Smokers. I'll put a link in the description if you want any info. And notice we're going to place the sausages directly under that fan system. We want the hot air to blow on top of it, and then it circulates throughout the smoker. We do have a sausage probe. That's a very tiny thermometer that's going to go directly into the sausage. Very easy, super great thermometer for your sausages. And I know the sausage looks dry. I'd say it's about 80% there. So we're going to run the convection system at a low temperature for about 30 minutes. And this is another one of those steps that really helps out when you're trying to get a snappy casing. So let's turn it on. And we're going to cut the convection system up to about 50%. If you don't have a convection smoker, don't worry about it. Just turn your smoker on a very low temp, like 90 or 100 degrees. Leave your door halfway open until your sausage is dry, or just put them in front of a fan for an hour. I do have a larger air pump for the cold smoke generator, and that's just to overcome any kind of backflow issues that's created because of the convection. The sausages have now completely dried. 30 minutes have passed, and it's time to apply smoke. So what we're going to do here is add a little hickory and apple wood fire up the Bella's cold smoke generator, also from Smokin' It Smoker, and these sausages are going to smoke for about 2.5 hours. That's about how long it takes to cook these perfectly in this convection smoker. In the recipe link that's going to be found in the description box, I'll have multiple cooking directions for different styles of smokers, offsets, digitals, convection, you name it. Our system is running. Pump is doing a great job overcoming the pressure that's built because of the convection. Let's look at the app on the phone. Step 1, we've programmed the smoker to maintain 100 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes, and that was what you saw earlier. The door was a little open. It's going to automatically bump to step 2, where the temperature gets increased to 125, and that's when we apply smoke. It's going to hover there for about 45 minutes. Step number 3, the smoker is going to automatically bump up to 175, and it's going to hang there until the internal temperature gets to 145 Fahrenheit. That's where that meat probe comes in. And then in the last step, the smoker is going to automatically reduce its temperature to 145 and hang there for an hour. That's just for pasteurization and to make sure I don't burn my sausages. Truth is, once you hit that last step, you could take it out at any time. I normally let them hang in there for about 10 minutes, and then we are good to go. This is what the sausage looks like after roughly 2.5 hours of cooking. Absolutely gorgeous looking color, took on smoke incredibly well, rendered very little fat, and we are going to place this in some water to cool down. We want the temperature of the sausage to be below 100 degrees, and after holding the sausage, I gotta tell you, I am really loving how firm this is. Great density, the casing is stuck on there nice and tight. We're going to have a really pleasant sausage eating experience here in just a minute. After about 20 minutes, the sausage is cooled down, and we're going to place it on a wire rack at room temperature for 3 to 4 hours as they bloom. This sausage can be refrigerated, frozen, or eaten, like we're about to do now.
The smoked whiskey bacon sausage is done, and I'm loving the way it came out. I mean, look at this link. Beautiful looking color, nice and plump. Casing is on there, super tight, so we know we're going to get that nice snappy bite. And it took on incredible color in that convection smoker. Loving the way the smoker is cooking sausage. By the way, if you missed yesterday's episode, be sure to go back and check out the Taylor ham episode. We're giving away a Model 3.5 convection smoker from Smokin' It Smokers. You don't want to miss out on the opportunity to win. As far as the slice goes, I mean, check this out. Really juicy sausage. Looks like we cut right in between some bacon. You got mustard seeds popping out all over the place. Oh, that looks great. Wow, that's unique. I got to be honest. The whiskey aroma, at least, is very faint. It's very subtle. Definitely picking up on the caramelized onions and the bacon. Okay, smells really interesting. Let's give it a bite. Wow. Okay. For starters, I wasn't sure I was going to like it. Too many unknown variables in this particular recipe as far as flavors. Do they work well together? And, you know, sometimes you just don't know until you try. I can tell you the sausage is incredibly juicy. I mean, it is bursting not only with incredibly flavorful juice, but just the overall texture of the sausage is pretty incredible. An all pork sausage is going to be a little bit softer than an all beef sausage. And so when you take a pork and beef combination, in this case, I think we added 30% beef. And when we do that, you're going to get a texture that's somewhere between all pork and all beef. And in my opinion, the mouthfeel and the texture of this sausage is definitely on point. I did not want this to be a spicy sausage, so let me just kind of throw that out there. And I feel like the amount of cayenne we added, coupled with the amount of honey that we added, help balance that out because the spice level is perfect. You're kind of getting this slightly sweet, slightly spicy, you know, sausage experience. I know that the spice is there, but it's very low key, very low level, hovering around in the background, which for this particular sausage, I think works. You could bump up the spice level if you want, if you really want to kind of kick that in, but I don't think you have to with a sausage like this. I am glad we caramelized the onions though, I do got to say that, because the flavor of the whiskey is really working well with the sweetness of the onions. And I'm not really getting an overwhelming whiskey flavor. I will say that if you don't cook the alcohol out of your whiskey or bourbon, whichever one you use, and you just take it from the bottle and pour it directly into your meat and mix it really good, you are going to get a very boozy sausage. And all of those flavors associated with that alcohol are going to be very forward. So your oaky, vanilla, toasty, caramel, biscuit, all of those flavors are going to come to the surface and they may overpower the sausage. Now you may like that. I didn't. I felt like the flavor of the sausage kind of was leaning a little more towards like a dessert sausage rather than a savory sausage. And so you might want to give it a try with a small batch if you feel like experimenting. I do think that cooking the alcohol out of the whiskey does mellow out the flavor. It removes that booziness and it plays better with the other ingredients. As far as the bacon goes, it's actually harmonizing with the rest of the ingredients pretty well. Personally speaking, I could probably go with more bacon. So maybe next time I'll add like 15% instead of 10%. But as it stands right now, everything is playing very nicely with each other. The mustard seeds, obviously, of course, I don't think I'll ever not like a sausage with mustard seeds, but those mustard seeds add a really nice texture. They pop, absolutely amazing. Overall, it is a very unique sausage, not a typical flavor you would have in a sausage. I can actually see this being used in other dishes, maybe sliced up and cooked with some baked beans for a barbecue. I think that would be really good. If you get a chance to make this sausage, let me know what you think. And you'll find a recipe link for the smoked whiskey bacon sausage in the description box below. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel and you enjoy sausages, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell because we are uploading a brand new sausage baking recipe every day this month. We still got a whole bunch more to go. In tomorrow's episode, we're going to be making an iconic Spanish sausage. I don't want you to miss it. See you then. Bye-bye. That is so different. I kind of like it.